All right. So super excited to chat with you about this today, Liz. Thanks so much. So I wanted to talk about your cut that we did, right? Which was pretty aggressive, an aggressive cut that we agreed on, right? For a short amount of time. And now it's been like a month since you did that, and your weight is still hanging out at right about the same spot that you were after your cut. So first of all, congratulations, because that's always what we want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then second of all, can you talk a little bit about just like how you prepared to have a successful cut and how it felt like while you were doing that? Like, was it difficult for you? Did you struggle? What things did you struggle with?
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of preparation for it, it really helped talking with you about what it would look like, about what my options were. I mean, you were really great about being like, this is an idea, think about it. If you want to do it, here's what it could look like, right? And so that allowed me to kind of go through my own process of considering it. So
Awesome.
that was really helpful. And I think I had stabilized and kind of normalized, right? It'd been many months that we've been working together. And so it felt like I could handle a little bit more, right, than what I was doing. So I think, not jumping straight into a cut. I don't think you would ever do that anyway, but like, I think that worked, that it was later on in our time together.
Yeah.
One of the things I did that was really funny to kind of like get my head there is that I blocked out all 6 weeks in my personal calendar as a standing calendar appointment all day, every day. And I titled it Cutty Cut Cut.
Oh my God, I love this.
So that like when I went to like
recorded this.
Yeah. So when I went to like make a dinner plan with a friend or like have a date or whatever, I was thinking like, ooh, you need to factor that in, right, to your life, and make it make sense. And so that was really helpful. And like a couple people saw it and were like, what is Cutty Cut Cut? So it gave me a chance to also talk about it. That actually really helped. And like, it was on my Apple Play in my car, because it kind of shows your little calendar appointments. So that was great. I definitely still felt like I could live life during that time. I mean, I definitely had to make sure I was really on it, right? And the thing you talk about a lot is consistency, and I've taken a lot of that to heart. And did my best with it, but it was also a really busy time, and I had some out of town, and, kind of did my best with it. And I think one of the things you said was like, 90%, like if, we're going to do a cut, we're going to do it. And so that's where I tried to get my head.
Yeah. I feel like you were such a rock star about it, because it's definitely a conversation that we had been having for a bit, was like, hey, if you want to do this, there's like 2 ways that we can do this. We can do it fast, or we can do it slow. And you definitely built up like all of the habits and like all of the prerequisites. Like you already had all that shit figured out, which was great. And so I love that you like schedule that into your calendar, because that's one of the things we were talking about. I was like, what's your life like for the next 6 weeks, right? Because we're going to be committed and we're going to do it right. So I love all of that. I love it. And in the middle of the summer, which is hard.
It was a little hard. And I think the thing that was hardest for me was really hitting the protein number every day. I could get close, but like, it took me a little time to get exactly there, because it's a higher number. And I wasn't used to like, really focusing on protein in my recipes. And I mean, that's kind of like a duh thing, but it forced me to really do that and to also think more ahead in the day. So often what I did was kind of knowing what I had in the house and knowing what my plans were. I would put it all in MyFitnessPal, all the food that I had planned to eat. And so I knew kind of where I was ending up at the end of the day, so that if I needed to have some cottage cheese to like get me there, I could put that in and put it into a time of day where I wanted to eat it, right? Where I wasn't trying to eat a bunch of protein at the end of the day, which, I just wanted to avoid. So kind of planning the day ahead food wise is really helpful.
I love that. That's brilliant. And I think that, your protein goal was a 1-to-1 grams per body weight, right? And getting those levels of protein in is like definitely something that people really struggle with. So I love that you mentioned, upping the protein content in your recipes, planning your days ahead. What are like some other things that you did to make sure that you were hitting that protein requirement?
Making some shifts. Like one of the things you taught me was there was a granola I think I was eating where there was more fat than protein, and you were like, look for more protein than fat. And that really helped me look at labels even a little differently than I had before. And then what else? Oh, so I mean, I found some supplements I like, which was good, right? Because I mean, you kind of can't do this without some supplements. And so the elemental formulations, the watermelon Jolly Rancher drink was pretty good. I have to water it down a little bit because it's sweet, but I mean, that means I get to drink more. And then like paying attention to my meat source. Like I love a good pork chop, and a good pork chop is quite a lot of protein. And so just, you know, thinking about the actual food that I like, I wasn't miserable. I wasn't overly hungry. I think with eating that much protein, like it's hard to be that hungry. And as you know, like I tend to eat a little bit more fat and a little less carbs. And in that sense, it was, you know, it was fine too, because it makes me feel more satiated.
Yeah. I definitely feel like you were able to find something that still like honored your preferences, like your, you know, general day-to-day eating preferences, while at the same time making sure that you are doing the things that you need to do to get shit done. Right.
So you're great about like allowing for that too. Like you're not overly rigid about it. So that's nice.
I definitely try. So let's chat a little bit about what life has been like since you ended your cut, because you've had some rough weeks where things have been crazy for you. And for anyone watching this, like Liz is one of those people where if she tells me that she's had an insane week and she's like swamped and work is crazy and she's literally had no time for anything, like I believe Liz, because you're just one of those people that likes to get shit done. So you've had a few like rough weeks in the past month and some change since you ended your cut, but your weight overall has gone up and down, but pretty much stayed at about the same level. So can you talk a little bit about how that's been?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm impressed actually and a little surprised that it's been staying pretty steady. Very happy about that. Especially because I've been out of town every weekend traveling. Since I ended my cut, like pretty much it overlapped a little bit with the cut, but it's not like I've had ultimate control the whole time, right, on it, with it. So it feels like my body accepted the weight loss. And, you know, a lot of that also feels like muscle for me. Cause like, I think I was telling you, I just feel like firmer, which makes me happier. And my number one goal with this was to not be in pain every day with my back. And I haven't been for quite some time. So that's been really nice. I just made sure. So as far as food goes, I just made sure of like getting back to what I knew worked. Right. And also using some of the discipline from my cut and letting that overflow into that time too. Right. The focus a cut can give you focus after the cut ends too. Right. I don't think, you know, I think it helps form a habit. You know, it's not an excuse once the cut ends to like snap back or to whatever, right? The whole point is forward movement and consistency. So that's been nice. And I mean, I definitely feel like I have enough leeway that I can still live my life and have my busy ass days and generally be fine. Right. But I think it's about like, are you like, are people, is anyone who's considering this, like, are you ready to like do it? And that doesn't mean perfection. So like, I'm a recovering perfectionist and like,
we don't have to share our secrets.
It doesn't mean that. It shouldn't mean that. Otherwise you're just going to do the thing I used to do, which was be like, oh, well, the whole day is ruined. And so I'm just going to do whatever I want or not do the thing I should do that I know my body likes or whatever. So I think some of that is fighting back against that type of thinking, and making sure that it's just like the next right decision to make.
Yeah. I love it. And have you found that like it's become kind of like easier to hit some of your protein targets now, especially because you had such a high target during your cut? Like, do you feel like that's a little bit easier to incorporate into your daily life now and in the future?
Yeah, it does feel easier. Which I was like, if there's one thing to take from the gut is definitely that, right? Like the number on the scale is fine. It's all forward movement. Like I felt like I was able to focus more on, just those things that make me successful. So
for sure. And I mean, this all plays into the part about, yes, weight loss is important to you. And yes, being pain-free is important to you. But then it's also partially just like an aesthetic thing. Like you want your body to look more of like a certain way, right? And the protein is really the main driver of that. And like how you described, just like feeling more firm, like that is your extra protein, right? Being on top of your nutrition, along with being on top of your workouts, which you've been killing it this whole time. I mean, you have like an excellent history of like, getting like 80% of your workouts in, probably like on average over the last almost 9 months that we've been working together. So that is spectacular. We don't even have to chat about that, but you have come through on the nutrition side also. And now you're like really reaping the rewards of having both of those together.
Yeah. And I think, you can make one decision in the day to exercise, but you make many decisions a day about food, right? And a lot of us have a complex history with food, how we were raised, how we grew up, the culture we grew up in, right? And so I think that the food and the mental game is definitely there. And I appreciate, one of the things I appreciate about you is that you're here to talk about that, right? And you get it. That's one of the things I kind of screened you for from afar, was like, does she get it? Is she toxic? No, she's not. Great.
That's totally fair. Love it. Yeah.
And I think my consistency was working out. I mean, some of this is like, look, it's an investment, right? I am investing in myself by paying you a bunch of money. Right. And I think like a lot of that depends, a lot of the investment, what that means for me is, well, then I'm doing this shit. Like I got to do it. Right. And it's not too much for me. Like this whole experience, I was thinking about the other day. I remember going in when I was considering jumping in with you, being like, okay, like it's part of my finances that, I would need to add into my budget. Right.
Yeah.
And, can I do that? And now I look back and I'm like, yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's what I always tell people. It's like, I want to work with you when you're ready to work. That's when I want to work with you, because and you're such a perfect example of this, but I really feel like you are 1,010% capable of taking everything that you've learned while we've been working together. Like, I feel like you've actually like internalized these things and like made them part of your life. But I really feel like you have been such a great client because we have been stacking one thing on top of the other the entire time. Right. And nothing has come from the bottom. Nothing has come from the foundation. We're all just keep adding more and more things on top of that. And that is really why you've been so successful, is because you take those things to heart.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do like 4 lunges. I was in so much pain when I started. Like, it's a huge difference. It's so nice. I'm very grateful. And I think it really helps to know that like you've been through some significant setbacks, injuries, back pain before too. And I needed someone who was like, yes, I get you. It's scary. Like,
the scariest shit you'll ever do.
Yeah. And to trust your body again. Like I trust it more now. And that's just a huge gift. And that's like, has no price tag. So.
And now your program has Bulgarian split squats.
Oh, I hate them. But I also feel good doing them. But they're hard.
Like the epitome of started from the bottom.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh my God. That is great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to chat about this on camera. And I really appreciate it. And I love working with you. I'll gas you up any day.
You're the best. You're my hype woman. I love you.